So often we look at time as this linear, ticking force that we're racing against. We say, it's been months, or I should have heard from them by now. We measure the absence and begin to assign meaning to the delay, as if silence means denial, or time passing means the promise is slipping away. But what if time isn't against you? What if instead it's working with you? What if the very stillness you're sitting in right now is not stagnation, but sacred alignment? You see, the universe does not rush what is divine. It does not toss you into a love story prematurely, only to watch it unravel. There is a timing to things that transcends logic. And when it comes to something as sacred as a kingdom connection, a bond formed in spirit long before it takes shape in the physical, timing isn't just important. It's everything. The delay you feel isn't a denial, it's a refinement. It's the slow, deliberate unfolding of two lives, two souls, two hearts being readied not just to find each other, but to recognize each other. There is a difference. Anyone can meet, but only those who are attuned can truly see. And maybe right now, the person your soul has felt so drawn to is in a space of preparation too. Perhaps they're shedding old versions of themselves, clearing out fears, healing from wounds you were never meant to fix. Maybe they're learning how to love from a place that isn't broken. And while you sit in your own corner of this divine choreography, you're being readied as well. Not because you're not worthy of love now, but because the love that's coming requires more of you than the version you were when you first started hoping. It's tempting to look at the delay and grow discouraged, to scroll through the days like they're evidence that nothing's changing. But the most powerful shifts rarely make noise. A seed doesn't announce itself when it's taking root beneath the soil. It simply trusts the process of becoming. The same is true for love. So if you find yourself asking, why haven't they called? Why haven't they come forward? Maybe the better question is, what is life aligning within me right now, so that when the call does come, I can answer it from a place of wholeness? That shift in perception changes everything. It allows you to rest instead of striving, to prepare instead of panic, to trust instead of chase. And here's the mystery. Often right at the moment you're about to give up, right when your patience wears thin and your hope begins to flicker, something begins to move behind the veil. That's not coincidence, that's divine timing. That's love, finding its opening now that you've stopped forcing and started flowing. Because true connection doesn't need to be rushed. It doesn't need to be chased down. It arrives when the two souls involved are finally in rhythm with the frequency of their destiny. And once that frequency locks in, the contact, the message, the call, the meeting becomes inevitable. Not because you willed it, but because it was always meant. So be still in the knowing, trust the slowness, honor the quiet. Something holy is unfolding behind the curtain of your ordinary days. The one your heart is calling is hearing the echo. They may not know what to say yet, they may not know how to cross the distance just yet, but they will. And it will not be a moment too late. The clock is not your enemy, it's your confirmation that you're right on time. Before any words are exchanged, before any phone call, before any meeting in a crowded room, or a quiet moment where eyes lock and time slows, connection begins elsewhere. It doesn't start on the surface. It begins in the unseen, in the realm that defies language and logic. You feel it as a tug on the soul, a quiet knowing that someone, somewhere is already tied to you. Not by accident, not by wishful thinking, but by something ancient, something intentional. You don't have to see someone to know you're already bonded. You don't have to hear from them to know they feel you. Because real connection doesn't rely on proximity. It pulses through intuition. It shows up in the silence. It's in the sudden waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. In the random thoughts of someone you haven't spoken to in months, or maybe haven't met yet at all. And yet they come, softly, persistently, as if your soul is sending and receiving messages far beyond the reach of language. And that right there is the mystery. How two people can be strangers in the physical world, but already familiar in the spirit. How there can be this invisible thread running between hearts, pulling gently, reminding both of you that you're not alone in your waiting. That there's someone out there carrying your essence with them, even if they don't yet understand why. That's the beauty of kingdom love. It doesn't always begin with fireworks or fairy tales. Sometimes it starts with a whisper, a restlessness, a deep inner knowing that won't let you settle. That nudge that tells you someone is missing, but not forever. And in the very same moment you feel that, chances are they're feeling it too. You might wake up thinking about them without reason. You might feel pulled to places, songs, memories, dreams, and not realize you're tuning into the echo of their presence. Because love like this is not confined to calendars and clocks. It works in the space between, in the realm where time bends and hearts speak a language only they understand. Some people call it telepathy, others call it divine alignment. But whatever name you give it, you can't ignore that it's real, and it's alive, and it's working through both of you. Even now, you are already connected in the place that matters most. Spirit precedes form, bond precedes union. And here's something beautiful. Just because there hasn't been contact yet doesn't mean there's no connection. Just because there's been silence doesn't mean there's no movement. It may be subtle, hidden, quiet, but it's there. Like an undercurrent you can't quite see, but you feel its pull. So don't let appearances fool you. Don't be disheartened by what hasn't happened yet. Because beneath the surface, beyond the veil, something is already in motion. You're already on their heart. And not in a vague or poetic way, but in the kind of way that wakes a person up at night. That stirs a soul into longing. That prompts them to question every connection that came before because none of them feel like you. And while you're out here wondering if you've been forgotten, they're wondering if the voice in their chest is telling the truth. If that feeling they can't explain is pointing to you. If the emptiness they carry is shaped like someone they haven't met or someone they haven't yet returned to. You are not waiting to be connected. You already are. And that bond, though invisible, is real. It's alive. And when the time is right, that unseen connection will make itself known in the most unexpected and undeniable way. The soul always remembers what the mind has yet to recognize. It's a strange thing, isn't it? How someone can be on your mind so often, so persistently, without any clear reason why. You go about your day, do the dishes, answer messages, tend to life's little details, and yet they linger in the back of your thoughts. Their name flickers across your awareness. You remember their laugh or maybe just the idea of them. And you wonder, do they feel it too? Is it one-sided? Or is something deeper going on beneath the surface? Here's what most people miss. When someone truly lives in your heart, it's not a solo experience. Especially when you're talking about a kingdom connection, something divinely orchestrated rather than circumstantially convenient. In that kind of bond, the awareness is mutual, even if it isn't always expressed. So yes, they're thinking of you too. Perhaps not with clarity every moment, but with frequency, with energy. With longing they may not even fully understand. People assume that just because someone hasn't reached out, they must not care. That silence means forgetfulness. But often silence is filled with contemplation, with conflict, with a wrestling of the heart that has no words yet. Your kingdom spouse is not distant because you don't matter. They're distant because the connection does. And that connection is stirring something in them. Maybe it's memories of a conversation or the way your presence felt safe. Maybe it's a dream that haunts them in the quiet hours of the night. Or maybe it's simply a sensation, a deep, inexplicable awareness that you're near, even if you're miles apart. It's subtle, but it's real. They think of you when they hear certain songs, when they walk past familiar places, when they scroll past others and feel nothing. You may be the comparison their heart keeps making, the standard their spirit keeps returning to. They're wondering why no one else fits quite right, and why they can't seem to shake the thought of you. That's not imagination, that's resonance. It's not always a conscious stream of thought. They might not sit down and say, let me think about them today. But something in them is turning, reaching, wondering. And if they're quiet right now, it's because they're processing what they feel. They're trying to name it, make sense of it. They're searching for the courage to trust it. Because this kind of connection doesn't feel ordinary. It doesn't come with a manual. It interrupts routines, challenges logic, and redefines timing. It asks both people to grow, to soften where they've hardened, to open where they've closed, to return to love without fear as the narrator. So yes, you're on their heart. You're in their thoughts. Maybe not in the way you imagined, but perhaps in a way that's even deeper. Because it's not just nostalgia, it's the ache of something unfinished, the whisper of something sacred, the soul nudging them with reminders that love like this doesn't just disappear. It evolves, it deepens, and eventually it calls them back to where they always belong. And I know, It's hard not knowing what they're thinking. It's hard to sit in the unknown, feeling the pull while hearing nothing in return. But trust this, just because the words haven't come doesn't mean the message isn't being written. Just because they haven't reached out doesn't mean they've let go. Some people carry love in quiet ways. Some feel more than they can say. But when the time is ripe, they will speak, they will move, they will break through their fear, their pride, their confusion, and they will come. Not out of obligation, but because their soul won't allow anything less. You're not imagining it, you're not alone in the wondering. Because love this real always leaves a trace, and they're following it back to you. Silence has a way of making us uneasy. It stirs up questions, opens the door to doubt, and makes space for all the stories we're afraid might be true. You start to wonder, did they change their mind? Did I misread everything? And in that silence, the absence can feel so loud. The longer it stretches, the more it echoes. And yet, silence, when held with wisdom, is never empty. We've been conditioned to think that progress always looks like motion. That if someone cares, they'll say it. That if love is real, it will always be loud and immediate. But some of the deepest transformations don't come with a sound. Some of the most sacred moments in life arrive wrapped in stillness, not because nothing is happening, but because something powerful is taking shape in the quiet. Think of a seed buried beneath the ground. It doesn't burst forth in the first few days. It settles, it roots. It finds the strength to rise before it ever breaks the surface. In that silence, it's not dead, it's becoming. And sometimes your kingdom spouse is doing just that, becoming, working through things they may never speak aloud. Untangling past pain, trying to make sense of a connection that defies logic, trying to build the kind of foundation that could actually hold the weight of the love meant for both of you. You see, when someone goes silent, it's easy to feel dismissed. But what if that space isn't a rejection at all? What if it's a sacred pause, a divine intermission where two lives are being realigned, refined, and readied, not for an encounter, but for a union? Some people withdraw when they're overwhelmed by love, not because it isn't there, but because it's too much to hold without cracking open. When the soul stirs before the mind can understand, it can feel like chaos. And so rather than move toward it, they retreat. Not to forget, but to figure out how to carry it. It's in the silence that people confront their fears. It's in the stillness that illusions fall away. Your kingdom spouse may be asking questions they've never had to face before. Am I ready for something this deep? Am I enough for this kind of love? Can I show up as my whole self? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary ones. And they're not the kind you answer in the noise of life. You answer them in the quiet, slowly, honestly, and perhaps the silence is working within you too. Maybe it's revealing where you've tied your peace to someone else's presence, where you've mistaken waiting for weakness, where your heart has reached outward before turning inward. These moments are mirrors, and they invite you to listen, not just for their voice, but for your own clarity. So don't fear the silence. Don't rush to feel it. Sit with it. Feel its shape. Ask what it's teaching you. Because when the silence finally breaks, it won't just be noise. It will be truth. It will be timing finally catching up with destiny. It will be words that hold weight, not just sentiment. And you'll know in that moment that the pause had a purpose all along. It's easy to want the quick fix, the instant message, the comforting reply. But the love you're calling in isn't surface level. It's not rushed. It's not made of impulse. It's made of intention. And intention takes time. Sometimes it takes silence. So breathe. Let the stillness be a sign, not of nothingness, but of something sacred working its way to the surface. The kind of love that speaks, not because it has to fill space, but because it's finally ready to speak what matters most. Even silence, when divine, hums with the sound of becoming. There's a quiet kind of power in faith. Not the kind that stomps its feet and demands instant answers, but the kind that whispers, I trust even when I don't see. The kind that chooses belief in the face of delay. It's not flashy. It doesn't always feel strong, but it builds a bridge between what is and what's on the way. You see, when you're waiting for your kingdom spouse, it's not just about hoping they'll call or show up. It's about aligning your energy, your heart, your inner world with what you know deep down to be true. You're not just sitting around hoping, you're actively holding space. You're preparing a place in your life for someone who's already written into your story, even if the pages haven't turned to that chapter yet. Every time you choose faith over fear, you're sending out a signal. not in some forced or manipulative way, but in the way a lighthouse simply stands, shining hope with the far. You become that steady light holding your ground in love, trusting that the one meant for you will find their way, and they will. Because love, real love, is drawn to authenticity. It's drawn to resonance. And the more you align with the truth of what's already yours, the easier it is for that truth to manifest in form. Faith isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about knowing that even in the chaos, even in the silence, even when nothing looks how you thought it would, something deeper is still in motion. You don't have to see the roots growing to believe the tree is coming. That's how divine love works. It takes shape in unseen places before it ever arrives in full bloom. And maybe right now your faith is the very thing sustaining both of you. Because even if your kingdom spouse isn't where they need to be just yet, even if they're still working through confusion, fear, or old wounds, your belief can hold a space for them. Not in a way that enables their absence, but in a way that honors their process. Your faith says, I believe in the ooze that exists beyond this moment. That kind of faith doesn't pressure, it doesn't chase, it doesn't collapse under the weight of the unknown. It anchors itself in the quiet knowing love is real, love is near, and love is worth the wait. And here's the thing, your faith is not passive. It shapes you, it transforms how you move through your day. It teaches you how to speak with more intention, how to care for your own soul in the meantime, how to soften instead of harden. Faith makes room, not just for them, but for you to become who you're meant to be in that union. Because when they finally do reach out, when the message comes, the call, the knock on the door, you won't be scrambling to believe in it. You'll already be prepared. Your heart will already be in rhythm. Your energy will say, I've been expecting you and I'm ready. So don't underestimate the quiet power of your belief. Don't let the noise of doubt drown out the signal of trust. This love you're holding space for is sacred, and your faith is the invitation. It doesn't have to scream. It simply has to stay open. Keep choosing belief over bitterness, hope over hesitation. Because every moment you do, you draw the future closer. You tune your frequency to the arrival. And when that arrival comes, it won't feel like a surprise, it'll feel like a return. Like something your soul always knew was on its way. Faith is not waiting for proof, it's being the proof. There comes a point in the journey where the waiting gets heavy. Not because you're weak, but because you've been carrying hope for so long. You've held on to promises, trusted the process, listened for signs, and still nothing. And in that space, the temptation to settle can feel incredibly strong. The mind whispers, maybe this is good enough. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm asking for too much. But let's be honest, deep down, you know you're not. The ache you feel isn't a sign to lower your standards. It's a signal that you're getting closer. Closer to the kind of love that doesn't just meet needs, but speaks directly to your soul. The kind of love that doesn't require you to shrink, perform, or convince. The kind of love that sees you, holds you, and calls you higher without fear. But to get there, you have to resist the urge to reach for something that simply fills the space. The truth is, almost love will always arrive before real love. Counterfeits have a way of showing up when you're closest to breakthrough, looking appealing on the surface, but empty at the core. They offer comfort, companionship, even passion, but they don't carry purpose. And when your soul is destined for purpose-aligned love, nothing less will satisfy you for long. Waiting for your kingdom spouse isn't about passively sitting on a bench until someone walks into your life. It's about standing in conviction, choosing again and again to not water down what you know is real just because the timeline feels slow. Because here's the quiet cost of settling: it steals the space meant for destiny. It blocks the door meant for the one whose presence won't just comfort your loneliness but amplify your purpose. The truth is, the wait isn't easy because what you're waiting for is rare, sacred, designed with you in mind. And anything that valuable comes with a cost, and often that cost is time, trust, and a kind of patience that grows you far beyond what you expected. But would you really want a love that came too soon, only to fade because neither of you were ready to hold? When you choose not to settle, you're not just protecting your heart, you're preserving the integrity of the story. You're allowing space for the miracle to unfold on its own terms. You're saying, I'm not just here for a warm body, I'm here for a soul connection that transforms both of us. That takes courage, and not everyone around you will understand it, but you'll know. because your peace will remain intact. And here's what's beautiful: when the real thing does arrive, you won't have to question it. You won't have to chase it, decode it, or beg for clarity. It will move toward you with intention. It will recognize you because it's been becoming alongside you. And in that moment, you'll be grateful for every night you didn't text someone just to soothe the ache. Grateful for every almost you had the strength to walk away from. Grateful that you didn't trade destiny for distraction. You see, choosing not to settle is an act of faith in itself. It says, I believe something greater is unfolding, even if I can't see it yet. And that kind of faith magnetizes alignment. It anchors your energy in truth. It declares to the universe, to the divine, to your own soul, I am worthy of more than momentary relief. I am here for the real thing. So if you're tired, that's okay. If you feel stretched thin, that's okay too. But don't give up. Don't hand over your heart to what's convenient when what you're called to is extraordinary. Keep choosing what aligns. Keep believing. Because what's meant for you is not just on its way. It's becoming more possible with every brave no you offer to what's not. The moment you stop settling, you start making space for the sacred.